Hey yo, what's good? What's going on, everyone, everywhere? Welcome back to another video, man. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and all the other good stuff. Alright, before we get into it. But without further ado, let's hop into it. Now, as you see by the title of the video, what we're going to talk about is nature precision-based pet DPS, okay? I want to make that very clear. So, this is going to be a little bit lower, I will say. And you will see the Shadow Bender Elite gear from last DLC. This is to be in line with the rest of the numbers as you saw with the nature power, so you can make the best informed decision when you are looking at my videos and seeing all the nature power itself and ranking them compare and amongst themselves. So take that all with a grain of salt when you see these damage numbers and whatnot. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Now, as you see, we are using brawling. This is for the AoE based loadouts. Now, when we go to our single target loadouts, we will be using dual wheels, so keep that in mind. It's still all the same there. Face, we got precision and might. Affinity mods, we have might, but that is because I'm doing might based DPS videos as well, and might helps universally more times than not. So that's why we have the might in type A and type B. Type C and type D are for support roles. That's all I always say. So I would just say if you are doing precision based, you can put these at precision. It will help increase your damage. But for me, I don't have this precision, like I said before, because I also do might based builds. Alright, now for the head mod, we have critical carnage 3, which will give us 2% critical strike chance. That's very, very good. Now if you are needing just a little bit more on the supercharge, and you'll notice you can keep proccing and bam, 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 I will say go ahead and switch this out with, the Neum and a boost one. They get you 5% back for that. Yeah, critical cards 3 would just be all around. Neck, relentless precision with the TPS, it's a no-brainer. Back, it's not breakout protection, it is actually berserker still. I always say berserker. Berserker does only benefit our damage, not our pet damage, so keep that in mind. I don't have another mod. I'll run into the base real quick to get chest penetrating strikes, best one yet, better than core strength, especially as the more and more tiers you go up. It's just better, and by a margin, keeps growing. Legs doesn't matter, nothing doesn't scale like they say, and we don't use anything for that. Now there is a variation of this build that you can use for the serpent claw, so you could use that in your legs, but yeah. Feet, you can go ahead and put in Tumbling Master. We don't actually use dash and combo for anything like that. I was using it on a previous build. Keep that in mind. Hands, max damage, is going to be best off for it. So, yeah. Trinkets, pretty much the same. Tier 3 pet, buff trinket. OMAC, nanite circuitry gets us 5% might. No, not 5% might. 5% critical strike chance with our weapons. Keep that in mind. Gives us some more health and toughness as well. Health is good for buff trolls, so keep that in mind as well. Just all around good trinket to have if you're doing any precision based DPS. And then we have a constant merge signal that we have in our 4 slots, so we can swap out, if we need a henchman or supply drop or whatever else it may be. Okay. Now in terms of artifacts, we are going to be running the Mercy artifact, the Source Shard artifact, and the Quizlet. And we're going to be using the Quizlet with this kind of the harmony of the Source Shard and the Mercy. Those are your golden 3, your pet DPS, and just go ahead and use these 3 in pretty much any and every build. Now there is some damage chest I did see with the transformation card, but I will say the highest partial I've had to date was literally a few minutes ago when I was testing it before I made this video, and I will say that it had Quizlet in it still. It was over 400,000 parser. That was 400,000 per second, so it was about 4 million in 10 seconds plus, I would say. And it had Quizlet in it, and I wasn't able to get another proc of that, so definitely keep that in mind. But you are more than welcome to try to go ahead and squeeze out a little more damage, or more consistent damage, I will say, with transformation card. Or just go ahead and pop in Venom or Risk Dispenser as well, just to help you out there. Okay, I will say transformation card, since it doesn't necessarily give us a buff per se, and what we're trying to more spec into, which is the pets, and it only affects our damage. You're gonna be a little limited there, first of all. Second of all, The 20% critical chance is very nice, but that total damage reduced by 15% does kind of suck. I'm not gonna front. Especially in pet DPS, we don't have a lot to work off with in the first place, since we do have our pets doing so much of our damage. So I will say, in regards to it, once you crit, you crit. It's not like it's gonna make your critical strike damage do any more. It's more just the chance of it is greater. Now, it's definitely a good artifact overall, but I will say sometimes it can be outweighed with pet DPS and even precision, to where Quizlet will be better, or give you higher parser, or even Venomous Dispenser might give you a higher parser as well. It just depends on how everything folds in that. Now, I will say there's even some potential stuff with the Gem of Horus you could do, but it's not the greatest, not the most consistent thing to always use. And I'll try to make these as dummy proof, as consistent, and everything in between as possible. So definitely keep that in mind. As you see my stats when I'm working with 189,000 might, 127,000 precision. You see the CR, this is older gear, so keep that in mind. Okay, and then as you kind of see here, you want to do all precision. Let me just go ahead and put that in there. Perfect. And then you do all precision. I'll go over the stats again. Yeah, still 127. Just a little bit more. All precision, so you get the increased 50% bonus for matching them in terms of having all of them precision. So it's just nice to have. In terms of our allies, there's a few variations that you can do, and I'll go over them all. AoE, you already know combat-wise, Shazam, Crypto, if you're doing single target boss, okay? Y'all pretty much know the ally portion. Now, I didn't even mention the combat ally in my last recording, or only even in the last video, the might-based stuff, just because y'all should know it by now. If not, I'll go ahead and make a updated video, and I'll even, hopefully I can make a short. We'll see. I might make a short. Who knows? But just stay tuned in for that, and I'll go over all of them. It's pretty much still the same. The addition of Blue Beetle and Satana did not help in the damage side of things. They definitely helped in the support side of things, okay? Now, talking about support, luck of the draw for precision-based DPS, just amazing thing to have. Arcane Battery is very, very good and an excellent substitute if you are not using, like I said before, the Serpent Call version of this build. And I'll get into that here in a sec. Okay, so if you're using the Voracious Plant version of the build, Zatanna, Arcane Battery, fantastic. If you're using the Serpent Call version of the build, then you could use the Add the Hat if you want, or you could even go a step further and do the Poison Ivy Empowered Spores and pair it with Zatanna's Out of the Hat. Okay, now that will increase your might like crazy. You still get some crit chance in there. You get your might by 10%, your precision by 5%, your crit chance by 5%. So it's just very, very good if you are using the Serpent Call version of the build, and it can actually scale up pretty high. Now that is also where I was able to hit a 400,000 parser, so keep that in mind. Now mind you, that 400,000 parser, the other parsers next to it were pretty low. So if you want to do more consistent damage up in near that 400,000 mark, keep that in mind. When I say 400,000, I mean 400,000 per second, first of all, so it's like 4+ million in 10 seconds of damage. And this is with the last DLC gear, just so it's consistent for the nature stuff that I recorded already. Keep that in mind. Scale it to the current gear. What we need now, right, we're closer to the 200,000 per second single target and 400,000 per second AoE. Keep that in mind, okay? That's numbers you want to be hitting, if not greater than, okay? So with that being said, these are good base ones to have if you know you're getting attacked quite often, quite a lot, depending on what content you're doing. Emperor Aquaman, Hear My Call is also a phenomenal thing to have. Now replace it with the Zatanna Arcane Battery. as well. If you're able to actually get a lot of supercharges off, then definitely static with the electric overcharge is phenomenal as well. And if your rotation is just so smooth, so buttery, so crispy as could be, then hey, go ahead and hit up Blue Beetle with the infiltrator mode. I almost said infrared for some reason. The infiltrator mode, just so you get your critical chance up there just a little bit. A little bit can go a long way, and especially if you have Blue Beetle in plus your head mod in for an additional 2% there. Having the transmitted card on top of that is just a little overkill, if I'm being honest. It definitely can show in the damage, but up to an extent. Once you get so high, it doesn't show as much. So keep that in mind. Especially because you may have Batman Labs with the 7.5% right here. Then you have static with an additional 6%, more likely what you're going to be using. You have a boost, so 6%. So it's just a lot of crit chance. They're already stacking up. And once you got crit chance, you need more crit damage, which is kind of fixed for us. So keep that in mind. But it's how can I say it? With pet DPS, stacking our crit chance very high is very good. It doesn't always show in the parser, especially in consistency. Okay, because a lot of it that we're doing, like pets can't crit first of all, so they're only helping your damage out, and your damage you have to be actually doing the damage, proccing and getting all that down. And sometimes pet DPS, you have to be so focused on making sure whenever the stuff's up for pet DPS, hit that first as your priority, and then go back to you doing your regular DPSing, just to pair it in tandem with each other. And that doesn't always translate well for being the most efficient, having to make sure the crit chance is there with crit damage and stacking it up, and make sure you got all these other buffs going at the same time. Pet DPS it makes everything a lot more complicated, and you're just doing a lot. So I would say definitely try to get the crit chance if you can, but it's very group specific and dependent. If you got supercharge healers and all that, hey, static can be good with Batman Who Laughs, but that's if you're lucky enough to get the crit chance right there going together. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, y'all can already see what I'm going for here. These two are good baselines, and the different variations, I'll touch on that here in a sec. As far as our spec, we got Brawling for AoE. You already know the deal, spec and that. Then come over here to martial arts spec, down there to the mastery, to go back up to brawling, and just get the one. That's all you need. You don't want the other one because it might make you do the combo and mess everything up. Keep that in mind. Single target, dual wield, come down, mastery, go to bow, come down mastery, then go back to dual wield, get the one. You don't want this one either. It might make you do the combo by accident. Super speed or your movement, your go fast, your breakouts, just for quality of life, but you don't actually need any of these other abilities. Iconic powers, just get robot sidekick, venom boost, and super strength if you're over 500 skill points. Also 500 skill points plus for these breakouts. Stats, weapons expert, pretty much in terms of priority, go straight down the list. Critical hit chance, well, weapons expert first of all. Critical hit chance, critical damage, precision, dump everything there. If you have anything left over, might power. And I also at least spec 1, 5, or 10 into health, depending on how many skill points you have, okay? Once you're past 500 in that range, definitely just drop 10 into health. It's good for buff trolls and get that 2% there, as you see. I like to also have at least 1 into vitalization. Helps me out just a little bit with that quality of life for getting my power back. I typically don't run into power issues even without a troll, and I would say more due to how this is and how my rotations are, so keep that in mind, okay? Now, in terms of the actual loadout itself, you kind of see what we work with. These are going to be the same pretty much across all my pet DPS. You always have Godway Strength. Into Mercy Attack Protocol, you always use it in that order. Godway Strength first, Mercy Attack Protocol second. You always, I can't stress it enough, always use it in that order. Then Robot Sidekick, our Neo Venom boost to boost our damage up, which is going to be fantastic. Then we have Voracious Plants here. Okay, into Carnage, which Carnage weapon buff, first of all. Second of all, does our 2% critical chance when we pop it, so that's just good to have. Now, the other variation of the build, if we do not want to use Voracious Plants, everything stays the same besides Voracious Plants. We just put in Serpent Call. Serpent Call is when we can take advantage, since it does apply. Here, let me show you. Ooh. Since it does apply our powder action, the poison, and when we come over to our ally here, one was Satana, we can get the out of the hat because we're applying the powder action through super ability, as well as Poison Ivy and Power Spores that we can, pair those together. Excellent combo. Was able to hit about 416,000 per second with this particular gear. That is phenomenal damage. That's really good. No supercharge, no buffs, no nothing. Just my abilities, my gear, these allies, and my loadout. That was it. No supercharges, no trinkets, no sodas were drank, no nothing. Okay, no buffs of any kind outside of these. That's absolutely phenomenal and amazing damage to be doing, especially with the previous DLC. Think of last DLC when we were in Dakota City with Static Shock and all that. It was hitting over 416,000 per second. You know what I mean? Like that with pet DPS. Just saying, that's very good damage. Okay. Now, if you want something a little bit more consistent, because when you're not hitting that 400,000+, you actually kind of hit higher 200,000s, lower 300,000s. When you get everything in line, then it's in that 400+. Okay, so if you want more consistent damage, you're in Voracious Plant, which can be very good and allow you to be a little bit more ranged. Of course, you could use something a little more damage dealing. You can even put in Swarm to match up with the Carnage. Now that would do more damage comparable to just using Serpent Call here. Serpent Call will do a little bit more, especially depending on how much it crits, than something like Swarm will. Swarm's more just consistent damage, keep that in mind. Voracious Plant is consistent damage that are able to move and be on the go, attacking different groups of enemies, whatever else may have you, okay? Keep all that in mind, okay? When you are picking different variations of these builds and of these loadouts. Now we're just going to go ahead weapon combo into our God with Strength to merge Tech Protocol. It already reset for us, that's good. We don't want to go ahead and hit it because it is going for 5 seconds. It does have its own little cooldown, so we don't want to go ahead and just hit it back to back because it's already procced for 5 seconds. Then hey, just let it proc. We can hit it there, then hit it right after. See, we're hitting the high 200,000s already. Now, if you want to really see some good damage or the better versions of this damage, you need that third pet, which is going to be our tier 3 pet, like I said before, from our trinket. Oh, look, we're already at 357,000, okay? And we're going to keep going through the same kind of rotation. Our first two, God with Strength and Merge Tech Protocol, pretty much hit Voracious Plant after each and every weapon combo, and then just pop Carnage as needed. I should have went ahead and hit that Merge Tech Protocol, even though God with Strength wasn't back up. But since I was explaining, I kind of got a little sidetracked for a second. So I do apologize on that. That's a little bit scuffed damage. I know. Actually, we're in that 300,000 pretty consistently. When I scuff it up, we fall back in the 200,000. But all you want to do is just keep hitting a weapon combo in between each and every time you're using your abilities. Only times you want to use abilities back to back is that God with Strength into Mercy's Attack Protocol, or when you're using Carnage to go ahead and clip out of stuff. If the Attack Protocol is back up, as you saw there, just go ahead and hit it, proc it right quick, and you'll pretty much be golden and good to go. Other than that, this is pretty much the damage you should be expecting for this particular gear level. Keep that in mind. Okay, now I am scuffing this damage to an extent, so definitely keep that in mind. I will say just raise it all with that margin for error that I'm doing, about 10%, maybe 15 depending for some of this, because I've really scuffed that up for some of it. So yeah, I would say with this one, when I was hitting just literally before I started the video, I was hitting around that middle 300,000 range, like 350, 360s in there, all the way up to 380, 390, and I even hit 400, 402, 403, 406. Those were a couple of the parts I was also hitting up. That is when stuff was critting, everything was proccing, rotation was down packing good. Now with these videos, I do get a little nervous, but I'm trying to make sure all the information's there. So bear with me. It's not always perfect, and I can't always show based off of that unless I edit, but then editing's a whole different story. So I just try to give you all the raw and uncut here with this, so keep that in mind. So without further ado, just to recap the different variations of the build, you have this one here, which are all around good. It's going to be better for your loadout here, right here. Voracious Plants, Carnage with the same setup with Goblin Streamer's Attack Protocol, Robot Sidekick, and the Oven and Boost. Only two really is going to change is back here. Okay, then you have another variation of Serpent Call. Now you only want to use Serpent Call, one, if you want the supercharged generator, two, if you want to go ahead and pair the potential of very high damage with Zatanna Out of the Hat, and pairing it with Poison Ivy and Power Spores. Now Power Spores are going to let you get a lot of precision stacked up. Zatanna Out of the Hat could potentially get you 5% critical chance, or even 10% might, paired with 5% precision. Both are very, very good options. Now, if you want something more consistent, I would say, and just like you have more control of, you can always use Shazam Power Shamley, Power of the Shazamly. You can always use Luck of the Draw with the Batman Who Laughs. I mean, there's other options to do. You want more crit chance, Blue Beetle, and oh my goodness, Infiltrator mode. Goodness, I can't speak for some reason. If you're able to actually hit a lot of those superchargers with your supercharge generator and all that going on, then you can definitely have something like Static with the electric overcharge supportability there. So there's definitely options for you to do. If you know you're taking a lot of damage, hey, throw in Emperor Aquaman, hear my call. Just nice stuff to have. So depending on what you're trying to go for, depending on what you're doing, those are my suggestions and recommendations for you. This is the build. This is what I've been testing. This is the best I'll say you can do. The single target is the exact same, I would say, with the variations included. Just instead of brawling, you have a dual wield. The loadout's the same, everything else the same. It's just the same across the board. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the video out. If you have any comments, suggestions, or constructive criticism, leave it in the comment section down below. If you have criticism that doesn't make sense or not constructive, I would encourage you not to leave it. Well, what do I mean by that? It's more of, oh hey, your build is stupid, your loadout is crap or trash or da-da-da, and you don't give an actual reason as to it. Or you act like you're all high and mighty, which happens several times over. All these people that just think they know the game ins and outs, left and right, up, down, whatever. Hey, you might know it, but from the testing, and I still to this day, no one takes me up on the offer. If you have a loadout and you're so convicted in your heart, your mind, body, and soul that it's so much astronomically better than the loadouts I'm presenting here, I will live stream both loadouts, and I will have them on my character. Tell me the loadout, tell me the rotation. I will test them both out in a live stream for everyone to see, and we can see the numbers. Okay, I go off the numbers. What are the numbers saying? What are the numbers doing? How are they looking? Okay, then I give y'all the best ones. I can't always display all the best numbers when I'm doing the video, depending on how many takes there are, how stuff is critting, whatever else. That's why I give you, hey, here are some of the best numbers. Here's the range that damage you're going to be dealing with, and here's what it normally looks like. Okay, this is kind of the exception when I make the video because of, you know, a lot of different conditions. I don't edit, so I can't pull those best moments, the highlights that you see with other people's video. Where I'm like, oh my goodness, I had 600,000, but I drunk a soda and I drunk a compound omega. Plus I had a trinket popped and a supply dropped in there. But I didn't show that I had all that buffs at first. Okay, I'm not doing all that. I'm showing y'all what is these damages here, what's the best that you can get based form, and then you already know if it's the best in base, it's going to be the absolute best when you scale it up with the trinket buff, with the soda buff, with the compound omega buff, if you pop a cookie, if you have a supply drop, if you're popping a supercharge, okay? So keep that all in mind. I want to make that very, very clear. I know there's been some comments made before, so hey, it's all good. Oh my goodness, his name, dude. Without further ado, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the video out, and leave those comments down below. I will be moving on after Nature to Celestial, so keep that in mind. After this one, I'm just going to go ahead and drop my Nature healer loadouts and then PvP loadouts, and then move on. Nature took incredibly too long, especially with the pet DPS variations. It's absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. So hey, it's not the best. I'll highly recommend you just stay with non-pet DPS for Nature, because I would have thought with Swarm and all that it would have been better. It's not. So keep that in mind. Without further ado, peace and shalom, yo.